Our next speaker is Louis de Sousa. He's a consultant with SEOP, and he will share some of his experience with Shiny with us today.
Morning, guys. My name is Louis. I'm an accidental Shiny developer. Earlier this year, we started a project, and we had to deploy it to production. So we had to productionize and make something scalable. So hence I became a overnight Shiny expert. I enlisted some of my friends, spoke to everyone in the community, and found out what were they doing about their Shiny dashboards, how were they productionizing it. So who am I? So in your gift bags today, you have a beautifully crafted mug. I did not get a mug today. This is the only mug I got, but it's fine. So as I said, my name is Louis de Sousa, based out here in Joburg. I am a principal consultant at SIOP. So essentially we do data and analytics. So for the last 17 years or so, I've been involved in one form or another of running of production systems. So be everything from one person's computer to many sort of multi-system, highly available systems. And I have a master's in information and systems engineering from WITS. These are my old slides. But don't worry, I have my slides with me. You can look at my face for a while. Please wait. Okay, this is a production issue. Okay, so we fixed it on the fly. Same mug, same company, same place, different agenda. So I thought the Venn diagram was a bit too much. Okay, so essentially I'm going to cover the Shiny dashboard. So where would you host your Shiny dashboard? Kind of some resources where would you learn about Shiny dashboards. Speak about why you would actually use Shiny dashboards, and more importantly, why would you not use Shiny dashboards. I then cover production. So what is productionizing something? So defining what it is, and sort of some goals that we want to get out of productionizing a Shiny dashboard. Put the two together. I'm going to speak about some of the challenges, cover some tools and tips, and then wrap it up in a nice conclusion. Everyone happy? I'm happy, I've got the right slides. Okay, so where do you run Shiny? So there is an enterprise offering. So firstly, Shiny is a open source project of package within R, and there is an enterprise offering. So the rstudio provides an enterprise offering, and this is largely focused at large corporates, and essentially they have sort of two flavors. So the one is Shiny Server Pro. That's if you just want to host your Shiny dashboard, and rstudio Connect is if you want to host your Shiny dashboard and a Plumber API and a R Markdown. So it's more of a fully encompassing enterprise solution, whereas the Shiny Pro Server is just the enterprise version of Shiny. The other way of hosting a Shiny dashboard is using the cloud-based version, so it's shinyapps.io. So it's also hosted by rstudio, and essentially there's a free version, so it allows you to create up to 5 dashboards, and there are paid options if you want to scale it even further. And then sort of the last one is self-hosted, so it is you can host it locally on your own machine, in your own data center, on your own sort of cloud provider. Who's currently using Shiny? 12-ish, yeah, bad, 13, okay, cool. Okay, learning about Shiny. So just some nice resources I found. So definitely like RTFM, so the documentation is really powerful. A lot of people have said to me that the main reason why they enjoy using R is there is some really comprehensive documentation out there that you can use. If you're like me, the videos and the written tutorials are there as well. Works equally as great. Blogs and Twitter have been very powerful, especially in sort of hashtag #rstats. There's a lot of great information out there. I guess just staying in touch. Find a friend who likes staying on Twitter. That also helps. Okay, so why use Shiny? And like our previous speaker did a really great analysis in an R Markdown file. Now, what happens if you wanted to now expose that to a bunch of people? So create an interactive dashboard. That is where you would start using Shiny. And secondly, I guess from a fast prototyping point of view. So Shiny uses some built-in JavaScript, essentially the Bootstrap library, and you don't have to be a Angular developer. You can get out a really quite an interactive dashboard fairly quickly. And then sort of thirdly, speaking to, you've created a model within R, the statistical model, and now you want to productionize it. So you don't want to rewrite it in C++, in Python, or in any other language. So it's build and deploy in the same language, and there's no sort of rewriting cost. And I guess sort of lastly, it is an open source ecosystem. If you care, like some people do, about the inner workings of Shiny, if you have production issues, you can contribute back to it, and sort of the ecosystem is constantly evolving as we go. Okay, so reasons not to use Shiny largely speaks to if you have a sort of a really high performance solution that you would like to, using like a native compiled language, that's the way to go. Because R is an interpreted language, it doesn't mean it's a distinct class citizen, it is a bit slower. So a compiled language is a lot quicker. And then I guess multi-page, so Shiny definitely leads itself to a single page application. So single page, multiple tabs, works great. Multiple pages, especially when you're passing through sessions, it doesn't work as well. So one page works great, multiple tabs, awesome. Multiple pages doesn't work as well. Okay, so what is like production? So we normally most of us, we create our model on our machine, sort of what is this whole production thing? And it largely speaks to when you're in sort of any situation where other people are depending on your Shiny dashboard. So if the Shiny dashboard is not available, I'm not allowed, I can't do my work, I'm not able to pull some important analysis. And that's highly available sort of scenario. That's what we're kind of speaking about. Okay, so sort of the goal. So why do we want to do this? Okay, let's keep it up. Sort of make sure it's up and running. Make sure it's secure. So definitely with with especially publicly facing dashboards, data sources are constantly being compromised, so it's really important. Ensure it's bug-free, and then performance. If you have 50 users using it, does it still perform as well as it did with only 3? So if we take those two together, then we sort of put them together, and these are where the challenges start happening. So now, firstly, I guess from an organization point of view, sometimes some people they're unfamiliar with the sort of the R ecosystem, and they have a certain language that they prefer. So it's definitely making sure that people understand that this is production ready, you can scale it. But then it's also like understanding what the limitations are and when to use it in the correct scenario. So cultural. So in my case, you can use any programming language. If you want to use a hardcore functional, if you want to use Python, it doesn't matter. It's, do you have the ability within the team? So are there people within the team willing to handle the language and kind of be at the same level? For me, it's a team, and even in an organization, I guess, does organization realize if you leave, are they able to still run your dashboard? And then, I guess, technical. So largely, if you have quite a strong stats background, sometimes a lot of the scaling or the more complicated, I guess, web development definitely does trip us up. Okay, so from a tools point of view, so recently at rstudio conf, it is essentially the rstudio conference that was held earlier this year. There were a lot of really nice tools to help us with Shiny that was announced, and kind of, I'm going to go through all of them. At the end, my last slide, I've got my GitHub repository where I've just done like a very basic example of each of these, but sort of each of these links, the slides are available afterwards. Each of the links have some really decent documentation, and there are some examples. So the first one is shinytest. So this speaks to creating almost like unit tests or recording tests for your Shiny dashboard. So what's great about this is, so in the preview version of rstudio, the IDE, you're actually able to now start recording your interaction with the Shiny dashboard. So what's great about this is you would have your Shiny dashboard, you click record, you would then record a typical user experience. It then spits it out. So in your project, it like spits out a JSON file and a screenshot, and it's essentially you're able to either capture certain values in your Shiny dashboard, or actually the whole entire state of your Shiny dashboard. So what's great about this is if you make a change, is your dashboard still responding as it should? So for example, if you update your model and all of a sudden your Shiny dashboard is returning a different result but for the same values, then you know that there's an issue. And yeah, this is really powerful. So you can add this as part of your development process. And so what's great about it is now it spits out some R code, and essentially you run this, and it essentially is able to test, okay, are these the values that it expected? So secondly, shinyloadtest. So this speaks about, I have 5 users who want to use my Shiny dashboard, and how can I profile and see, is there like sort of race conditions? So if 3 people try or 5 people try to access the same data set, what's going to happen? What's really great about this is now similar sort of concept where you would record a user experience. You would then replay it. So in its case, it is it replays it against the Shiny dashboard, so as the 5 separate users, and then you can actually analyze and see what the process was doing. It visualizes it, and this is also like, it's essentially just it's another R package. That's really powerful. There's different agents for like Mac OS, for Windows, for Linux, so you can go nuts. Okay, so profvis. So now there's an ability to see what's going on within your Shiny dashboard. So now you have different elements. So in my case, I've just got some sample code here. So I'm just doing something within a data set, and I'm able to see how long it took and how much memory it used. So in cases where you're running a Shiny dashboard and something's run like 100 times or something's taking really long, this helps you get to the bottom of that. And also I guess, largely it helps you understand what's happening in your Shiny dashboard. Okay, so asynchronous programming was recently added, and if there's a really good reason for you to use asynchronous programming, use it, but it's not a fix-all. So it's definitely, so start first profile, understand what's going on in the Shiny dashboard, and asynchronous programming is more speaking to the facts where we would have a big data query that would take a while to run. So, or something, a process would take quite a while to run, and we want to sort of release the dashboard and let the other users still interact with the dashboard while the data is being collected. So yes, so definitely, so do not use, so what's great is in the documentation, they state both these things, as they do not use promise if you have a Shiny application that has long-running operations and you want to serve multiple users simultaneously. So it's very much, you need to understand the paradigm of asynchronous programming. It's not this fix-all where you say, okay, just go away and do stuff and I'll deal with it later. Is everyone happy? Okay. Another great sort of addition is Feather. So it is essentially a way of persisting your data frame. So it's a binary columnar serialized data frame. So essentially what that basically means, it's a highly optimized way of storing your data frame. If you have large data sets, sort of it's the best way of just persisting it to disk and reading it out. A lot faster than using most of the other sort of supported frameworks. And so definitely in cases where you have a long-running query that's running and you want to actually just save the data, you can now save it to disk, and instead of reloading it from the server each time, you can actually now pull it from these Feather files, which is like really, really quick to get it into memory. Okay, so kind of moving away from the tools and more speaking about now just kind of a bit of a maturity on tips, so setting up this production pipeline. And it largely speaks to if you have a development team, or so more than one person working on your Shiny dashboard. So what sort of standards can we put in place? So the first one is like linting. So it's there are a number of code formats. So can we format, essentially, can we automate the way our code is formatted? So, you know, the number of spaces, or do you use tabs, do you use spaces? So essentially automate all of that and saying, okay, these are the rules that we're following, and everyone is going to follow that you know, those same rules. So there's standards like PEP8, and Haley Wickham as well has, this is based off Haley Wickham's R style guide. And so, okay, then secondly, version control. So get your source code off your machine into a repository. You know, machines die, wrong presentations get loaded. Code reviews and documentation. So previously, when people used to ask, is there documentation for this? So what's great is if you have these packages like Roxygen, which if you have a function and it's well described, you're able to export some humanly readable like HTML, so non-technical people can actually see what's going on with the functions. So testing, so that kind of spoke to the shinyloadtest, Shiny testing, and then kind of lastly deployment. So you can now sort of have it in your pipeline where it automatically deploys to either your Shiny local Shiny server to the cloud, and then or RStudio Connect if you're in an enterprise setting. Kind of lastly, wrapping up, filter the data as close to the data source as possible. So dplyr is sexy, and we get very used to filtering stuff in dplyr, but especially sort of moving data is very expensive. So in your case, you want to filter it as close to the data source as possible, and then sort of do your analysis with a filter data set further up. So that, you know, there's no use bringing all the data into R and then sort of filtering it. Keep it at the data source, please. It saves lives. Okay, plot caching. You don't need to redraw a plot each time you, with each variable, you can now start caching them, especially in a multi-user scenario, and so the data doesn't change as often. Caching is golden. Shiny really, so from a horizontal scaling point of view, so Shiny, you can run multiple or many instances, so that's horizontal, so I can run many instances of Shiny. It's really powerful, so that's where you can get your 10,000 users connecting to our Shiny dashboard. Okay, in conclusion, have a look at these tools and tips that I've spoken about. Have a look at the slides. All the links are there to those different packages. Things take time, so like adding testing, getting these pipelines, it's all sexy, and everyone wishes, it's all on our to-do list, but it does take time to add it. Start early, so if you've got a brand new project, start adding like testing to it, retrofitting documentation, retrofitting testing doesn't work. And then yes, deploying is a team effort. It's definitely, people who are developing it and sort of your IT pros, find your friend and will kind of help you sort of the limitations of the hardware, of the environment. I am around. Those are the resources on my GitHub repository with sort of basic examples of each of those tools. Joe Cheng, the CTO of RStudio, essentially the creator of Shiny. That's a video that he did at RStudio Conf. He kind of speaks about this. And it's sort of a Twitter feed sort of summarizing his talk as well. I'm around if you guys want to chat afterwards. Thank you very much.